like cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy DELRAY Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Hit the thumbs up button. It's always appreciated. Subscribe to the channel. Tell a friend about the channel. And if you want to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of the Straight Game, hit the bell notification so that you can get the a notification when I drop some more videos and some great information for you. I'm going to get right into it. This question comes from a brother from Las Vegas, Nevada. And the question is do you believe that Tupac was reaching for a gun, attempting to get shots off first at the white Cadillac the night that he was shot in Vegas while driving in the BMW with Suge Knight? The answer to that question from me personally is no, I don't believe that. First and foremost, as we know, when people talk, you got to listen to what they're not saying. And so this information I read in Keefe D's book, as well as he said on different channels from that perspective. And what I don't think that he understood that he had said at that particular time was, he said that Tupac was trying to jump in the back seat of the BMW when the shots were fired. Now, you can't be trying to reach for a gun and jumping in the back seat at the same time. You just can't do that. And what that tells me is Tupac didn't even know what was happening until the shots began to ring out from the white Cadillac, if you will. And so that's the reason why I say that I don't believe that story that was told, like I said, in Keefe D's book, as well as he said on different platforms. I personally don't believe it. You can believe what you want to believe. Second, when you deal with the fact that coming up on the scene, the argument that's being offered is basically that would be a self-defense claim if you would believe what Keefe D's book said. It's an interesting read. Like I said, I find some of the stuff in there to be a little bit sensationalized, if you will, but it's a great read. I mean, if you want, the story of him, his life, growing up in Compton and things like that, you know what I mean? I don't knock nobody for what they're trying to do and doing their thing. That's his thing. You know what I mean? But for me, myself, I wanted to read it so I can ascertain the information and then decipher and decide for myself as to what I would deem accurate and inaccurate. And so on the other side, like I said, number two is that would be like offering an attempted self-defense claim from that side of things. Like I said, the fact that Keefe D was in the car the night that had happened, that makes you complicit and an accomplice in that situation. So if I say, yeah, he was trying to reach for a gun, as we've seen in many of the cases involving black young men being killed, in regards to situations in regard to law enforcement, right? He was reaching for something, you know what I mean? So I had to, I don't think that claim kind of sticks, if you will, from that perspective. And the reason why I say that is because, number one, it's clear that after the situation, and like I said, Orlando Anderson was in his right to feel like he could handle that how he wanted to handle that. You know what I mean? Being that he was jumped and so on and so forth. I have no qualms with that. Like I said, one action gets an equal but opposite, but sometimes not equal reaction. You understand what I'm saying? So the same thing that you might have done to them, they might not do it to you. They might take it a step further. You understand what I'm saying? You know, that's the part of the situation you can't guarantee or look to be a fair situation. And so when making the argument that, oh yeah, I seen, and from Keefe D's perspective and in his book, that I seen, Tupac was reaching for a gun or something like that. It just doesn't bode well, because, from what we understand, you got to listen to the story that a person's telling. Now, when they pulled up, they basically had a gun in the car already. So what you came or wanted to do was harm from that perspective. You know what I mean? And so by that being what that is, you can't now make the argument that, it's like bringing a knife to a fist fight. What we saw first at the MGM Grand was, a fist fight, kicking, hitting, so on and so forth, right? But from Keefe D's perspective and what was said by many other people, as well as what we know from him, and I usually want to go by what he's saying because he was there. You can't deny that. You know what I mean? You can't, like I said, whether everything is accurate, like I said, once again, in this particular situation and dealing with this question from the brother from Las Vegas, like I said, that's the reason why I say that, because you had a gun in a car. You came to do damage, other than just having a fist fight or wanting a head up, if you will. You know what I mean? And so upon coming upon the BMW, when Suge and Tupac were riding down the strip, it wasn't, you yelled out the window and you said, well, come on, man, let's do it square up, one-on-one, Tupac versus, Orlando. It was, no, we bussing, and that's what happened. And so, like I said, once again, understanding who and what you're dealing with at that particular time, I don't think Tupac really understood. And so when you asked that question, that was another reason why, like I said, I don't believe that Tupac was trying to reach for a gun. Furthermore, Tupac was out on bail, and he had already been facing other situations in regards to another charge where he was a felon in possession of a firearm, which was and he had caught that charge also in LA. So he was waiting on a lot of stuff to go down in regards with that case, as well as a few other cases that he had caught, assault charge and so on and so forth. So if you go back to that night, remember, he goes back to the hotel room. He told Kadada, like, yo, I don't want to, I want you to go. We just got into a fight with a Crip, and so on and so forth. This is the information that was provided from Kadada's mouth herself. And so by that being what that is, if Tupac, from what I understand from him, you know what I mean, and how he would roll sometimes, even when he didn't have security, and I would see him out, various places. If he had a vest on, he would have his gun with him. You know what I mean? And not to, not looking for trouble, nothing like that, but just from the perspective of, if he gonna be giving shots, he might be having to take some. So usually he would. And so that night in Vegas, the fact that Tupac did not have his vest on, I know for a fact, 100% that he didn't have no gun on him. Number two, the reason why I say he didn't have a gun on him, because, at that time, there was too much going on in Las Vegas, and to be pulled over, I believe, they were pulled over. Tupac and Suge Knight were pulled over prior to the incident in the shooting. These are facts. So, and with that being said, I'm sure, if they were looking, they were, trying to ascertain whether there's a weapon in the car or anything of that nature, they would have kind of been able to do that. And like I said, Tupac was a little bit smarter than that. You know what I mean? To be riding down in the Vegas Strip with Suge Knight in the black BMW, and he having to carry a pistol. You know what I mean? Or some kind of a firearm, for some kind of protection. I do believe that, at the end of the day, if Tupac did have a gun that night in Vegas, he would have got some shots off. You know what I mean? I just believe that. I believe that just the adrenaline pump, you know what I mean? And just, that thing, he would have got some shots off. So that's why I say once again. And then number three, you got to look at the fact that when Suge spent around in the BMW, right? When he turned around in the BMW, it wasn't, I would say, a minute and a half, no more than 5 minutes from the time that he ran over the median, and the tires busted on the BMW where he was stopped. And the police, were like basically on the scene because, you know how Vegas is. At that particular time, they had, officers on bicycle. They still do, if you go out to Vegas. And they were on the scene. So if they had a gun in the car, that gun it would have been somewhere on the strip. It would have been somewhere on the street or so on and so forth. Nobody could get into the car at that particular time to give a gun to anybody or throw the gun out the window. It was just one of those nights in Vegas. It's a Saturday night fight. You know what I mean? And so the strip is packed. So to throw a gun out the window at that particular time, somebody would have seen something. Them speeding up the strip. Up the street that they were riding up, and like I said, immediately jumping across the median. Boom, tires going flat. Stopped, and so on and so forth. So that's why I said once again. That argument, that question, like I said, from the brother from Vegas, would be inaccurate as far as or the statement in regards to reading Keefe D's book and the statements that he's made on various channels. That would be not true. Tupac didn't have no gun. Tupac wasn't trying to reach for no gun, anything like that. You know what I mean? And like I said, once again, that would be making a sort of a self-defense claim. Say for instance, if charges were ever to be bought or anything of that nature, you know what I mean? Well, he was reaching for a gun, but the fact of the matter is they didn't find a gun, but you did have a gun. So, your intent, was to do a great bodily harm, you know what I mean? And the fact that the gun was used, like I said, yeah. So to that question from the brother from Las Vegas, no, I don't believe that Tupac was trying to reach for a gun. No, I don't believe, me knowing Tupac and how he would roll sometimes, like I said, that he even had a gun on him that night, or he even had a gun in Vegas that night. You understand what I'm saying? More so, like I said, the fact that he didn't have his bulletproof vest on that night speaks to me how I knew he would normally roll. If he was rolling like that and intended or felt like there would be some kind of danger, he would usually have his vest along with his gun with him. So like I said, that's what I know personally about him and how he would move sometimes when I would see him. And so like I said, no, I don't believe that Tupac was trying to reach for no gun that night. I don't believe that Tupac even know what was going to happen until it started to happen. Like I said, I don't believe nobody knew what was going to happen until it started happening. I just don't believe that. You know what I mean? Because if they did, it wouldn't have happened like it did. You understand what I'm saying? And so to look across the car and be like, oh, that's, such and such, let me reach, it just doesn't make any kind of sense. Like I say, mathematics, I like math, and it just doesn't add up for me. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not telling anybody else what to believe in regards to that. But as to the question, brother, like I said, once again, no, I don't believe Tupac was reaching for a gun, or neither did he have a gun that night. Your boy DELRAY, straight gang.